to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Chairman Cummings and Ranking Member Jordan, and thank all of you all for being here today. In my home county of Cabell County, there has been an increase in HIV cases. In March, there were 28 confirmed cases, and in April, that number has risen to 44. This number is a sharp uptick from the case where we only had 8 cases annually over the last 5 years. Unfortunately, those most impacted are intravenous drug users, which is a terrible result of the opioid crisis that has devastated so many communities across the United States. I'm very glad that President Trump is taking the issue of HIV seriously and has secured the donation of the $2.4 million from Truvada for the Centers of Disease Control, and thank you for doing that. Mr. O'Day, if a patient cannot afford Truvada, are there precautions in place to ensure access?
Yes, absolutely. So if they have private insurance and they can't afford their copay, they can apply to our copay assistance programs, and 98% of patients that have done that pay nothing out of pocket. And then if they are either uninsured or struggle with their medicine, we have a medicine assistance program which essentially evaluates their financial needs and provides it for free.
Thank you. Can you explain how the new version of tenofovir, if that's how you pronounce it,
tenofovir, right?
Tenofovir was an improvement to patients, and what new benefits does it provide?
Well, thank you, Congresswoman. So what you're referring to is actually a completely separate medicine from tenofovir. It's a medicine that's called, abbreviated as TAF. And this is now the advancement that we've seen in both treating and preventing HIV/AIDS is that people living with AIDS or people subject to AIDS have the ability to take these medicines now for decades. Tenofovir, when taken that long, a certain subset of patients have issues with their kidney or with bone disease on such a chronic basis because we've essentially transformed the disease to such a long-term illness. So the new medicine, so-called TAF, which will be combined again with FTC and other agents, has a much lower incidence of these side effects and is really designed for, if you like, the new generation of medicines that will allow patients to be on this longer term without having to worry about other debilitating side effects that they could get from their medicines. We've launched this now into the treatment of HIV setting with a medicine called Biktarvy, and we'll be bringing this innovation. It's right now filed with the FDA, and we will hope to have a positive approval by the end of this year for patients that are eligible for PrEP. So this innovation, this new medicine that was completely discovered and developed by Gilead scientists is now kind of the next evolution of care for HIV patients.
How long did it take you to do that?
Oh my gosh, well, this was back in the 1990s that we started this, so it's been more than 2 decades, and part of that $6 billion investment that we've had so far in HIV.
Wonderful. Would any new patents prevent generics from being created against the original version?
No, it's a completely separate medicine. It has nothing to do with the patents of Truvada. It's patent protected from this new innovation that took decades to produce.
Thank you. Mr. Ezell, do you foresee a future where the NIH could take on the entire of the drug development process from start to finish?
I simply do not think that would be the case. First, the capacities are not there. The NIH focuses on basic scientific research. What industry is really bringing to the table is the development aspect of it, doing the applied research, conducting the clinical trials. Now, this has been proposed. Dean Baker, for instance, has written that, quote, we could expand the public funding going to NIH or other public institutions to extend their charge beyond basic research to include developing and testing drugs and medical equipment. But Baker estimates that were we to try to do that, we would likely, quote, it would be necessary to increase the amount going to NIH by at least $60 billion a year in order to, quote, replace the funding currently supported through patent monopolies. So no, I don't think that's tenable. I don't think we're going to increase NIH funding by $60 billion a year, especially if we can't increase pass the gas tax. And more beyond that point, I think there is very little reason to make that dramatic of a change to a system that, as I've tried to say today, is in fact the world's most effective and productive at generating new-to-the-world cures.
Thank you.
Mr. Gahana.